Hello, I'm Poppy Miller. Welcome along to our NWSL previews here on CBS Sports HQ, presented by Zelle. Zelle is a great way to send money to friends and family wherever they bank in the US. Look for it in your banking app today. We're coming into the home stretch of the regular season, and the playoff race is well and truly on as 7 matches remain and only 6 points separate 2nd through 6th place in the standings. Let's take a look at what's on tap this weekend.
The NWSL is back this weekend with a stacked slate of important games with playoff ramifications. On Friday, the action kicks off in Houston with the Dash set to take on the Chicago Red Stars. And on Saturday, Orlando hosts Racing Louisville FC, with the Pride once again finding some late magic in their last match.
Doherty Howard goes right that way, and it is in!
On Sunday, in a battle of the two clubs atop the standings, the North Carolina Courage hosts the Portland Thorns on CBS Sports Network. And capping off the weekend in the district, the Washington Spirit will face off against the streaking OL Reign.
Fishlock wins the battle, gets it back in the box. Her left-footed strike is put in by Bolser.
Who will shine in a busy weekend across the NWSL? Tune into Paramount Plus and the CBS Sports Network to find out.
All right, so a lot to look forward to, and here's a reminder of what is coming up. It all gets started Friday night as the Dash hosts the Red Stars. The Pride in Louisville are lone match for Saturday. Then 2 matches to conclude the action on Sunday. A meeting between the top 2 teams at 3 p.m. Eastern as the Courage host the Thorns. And then to cap the night, the Spirit will welcome the rain to Audi Field. So the pressure is mounting, and here to look ahead to this weekend's slate, our former 2-time Olympic gold medalist Aly Wagner is here with us. Aly, good to see you. Let's start with Friday night's match. The Dash will host the Red Stars in Houston. This is 2 teams separated by just 3 points, so a massive match in terms of the playoff picture. Both teams, though, with just 1 win in their last 5 games. How are you expecting this one to unfold?
Yeah, I mean, you saw the late heartbreak goal that Orlando scored on the Dash when they were up 1-0 in that match. I think when you look at this game, you said it, Poppy, both these teams vying for those lower spots that get them into the playoffs. I think with the Dash hosting and the fact that they have an element against the Chicago side, and that Chicago has really struggled to find the back of the net. Last 5 games, they have been held scoreless in 3 of them. And I think this is an interesting predicament that James Clarkson will find himself in, because knowing that about Chicago, and that really the person you have to shut down is Mallory Pugh, do they actually take a more aggressive approach when they've hosted games? We know that they've liked to keep the games tight. They sit back until about that 70th minute mark, where they let the opposition start to feel the fatigue from the climate, and then they open up the game in transition. Do they do that, or do they get after Chicago, knowing that Chicago has been struggling in front of net, and press more gut on the front foot? Because if you look at Houston Dash's schedule coming up, they've got Louisville and KC, and of course the Chicago game. These are the games where they have to pick up points. They have to get 9 points, because after that it's 2 games against Portland Thorns, North Carolina Courage, and Washington Spirit. So if they want to make a playoff push, I think they've got to get on the front foot early in this game. I do like them to pick up all 3 points hosting.
So points are a necessity at this point in the season. That's our 1 match for Friday, and just 1 match on Saturday as well, with a meeting between 2 teams trending in opposite directions. The Pride will host Racing Louisville. Aly, it seems in the past the Pride has always had these world top-class players, but they've struggled to translate that into results. This year, though, they're in a good position heading into the home stretch. What are your expectations of them for the rest of this season? How far do you think they can go?
I don't think they can go the distance. I think they're going to be a playoff team. I think if you look at Becky Burleigh and what she's done before she came in, they had 4 losses out of 6 games. Now she's come in only 1 loss out of those 6 games. So she's changed the way they're playing. They're possessing more. There's not as much pressure on their back line. And so that is proving fruitful for them. So I do think that they're going to get in the playoffs. I think they're going to make a push. But ultimately, it's going to be whether they can get Sydney Leroux streaking again. 4 games with no goals for her. Alex Morgan, does she come back in the fold? We talked about it last week. There was a possibility she could come back in. It looks like this week we will see some minutes from her. That is going to lighten up the load on Sydney Leroux, open things up for her. But ultimately, you're getting goals chipped in from different players for Orlando Pride. And I do think they need that streaky player if they are going to make a deep run. If you look at Racing Louisville, this is a team that's desperate for points coming up. They absolutely have to get a result. Winless in their last 5, obviously in transition with the new manager. The thing that I like about Racing Louisville as they go to Orlando is that Orlando has not won their last 5 home games, and Louisville early in the season was struggling to find goals in front of net. Well, that hasn't been the case. Last 6 matches, they've only been held scoreless 1 time, and I think you've got to give a lot of credit to Nadia Nadim. She's had 3 goals, 1 assist in 5 games, and I think if they can keep her hot and get Ebony Salmon, who has 5 goals, their leading goal scorer, back into a really good momentum and good form, I think they could steal some points on the road against Orlando. They've got to get those players 1v1. That's one area that Orlando seems to struggle with, and some of those runs in behind, especially if Orlando's going to be without Ashlyn Harris. That's a big question mark. She left the last match with concussion or under concussion protocol. So we'll see if she's back, but she's obviously been huge for Orlando. This could be a big break for Louisville.
Absolutely, but maybe Racing Louisville just outside of the playoff race now. They are sitting second from bottom in the standings. But at the other end of the table, though, the top 2 teams will go head-to-head this weekend as the Courage host the Thorns. Portland's last game was a loss to the Reign. North Carolina unbeaten in their last 5. A win for them would put them equal on points with the Thorns for the top spot. I mean, this is just going to be an epic game. Ali, who do you favor here?
It's always an epic game when these 2 sides match up. I don't know that I favor one side over the other. The thing that you can look at in terms of history with these 2 franchises in this season is that North Carolina Courage has been able to hold this hot offensive Portland Thorns team to shutouts, and they haven't found production. So that is one thing North Carolina Courage have going for them. And North Carolina Courage have not been held shut out at home. They are hosting this match. I'll be on that call. And ultimately, I think when you look at these 2 sides, we know they're both at the top of the table in terms of goals scored, goals conceded. North Carolina Courage only conceding 9, and this is a North Carolina Courage team that is so changed from last year. You have to give a lot of credit to Paul Riley and how he's shifted around players, put them in different roles, gone into a 3-back when this was always a club that played their 4-4-2 box midfield, and you knew what you're going to get out of them. They were going to get direct at you. They were going to use their pace to get in behind. They look tactically different, and there's still question marks around whether Abby Ersig will be back. So do they go back into their 3-back system, utilize some of the width against this narrow midfield that Portland likes to play in their diamonds? So I have tactical questions about this matchup. Ultimately, I can see this one ending in a tie, especially because this Portland Thorns team was coming off that 5 games in 15 days. They got a big break with the fact that they didn't play that game against Washington Spirit over protocol, COVID protocol. So now they've had 10 days to get their internationals back integrated with the side, rested up, and they, I presume, are going to be flying when they come into North Carolina Courage territory that has actually been shut out in their last 2.
But you mentioned Paul Riley's North Carolina Courage. They've been slowly closing the gap for weeks now, and this match gives them a chance to level the playing field. And to conclude this weekend's action, the Spirit will host the Reign. OL have relished having their Olympians back, especially Megan Rapinoe. However, after beating the Thorns, it did drop points to Racing Louisville last Saturday. What do they need to do this weekend to get all 3 points from the Spirit, Ali?
You know, this is an interesting matchup, Poppy. I think they can just go out and play their game and be comfortable, and they should take points. That's how deep and good this OL Reign team is. But Megan Rapinoe is still going to be out, it looks like, because she's injured. Set to come back into the side when OL Reign hosts back at the end of September. She's even missing the international window, won't be in with the U.S. national team. But this OL Reign side has such depth. Their wingers, the Eugenie Losamer, now they've moved Huerta into that fullback position, but she's provided points for them going forward when she's aggressive in her rotation. I just think when you look at this OL Reign side and the tracking that Andy Sullivan, Tori Hooster are going to have to do on Jess Fishlock, on Rose Lavelle in the center of midfield, when you get the slashing runs of Eugenie Losamer, I think that core defense of the Washington Spirit, the 2 center backs, their 2 defensive mids, they're going to have their hands full. And I think it's going to ask a lot of questions of this back line from Washington Spirit, even though they've been in good form. The one caveat to that is that this is a mature, experienced side, Noah Rain, but they're coming up against such a young Washington Spirit side that can cause a lot of problems. We've said it time and time again. If you look at Trinity Rodman, Ashley Sanchez, and their attack, they are able to break you down really quickly if OL Reign get too comfortable in possession. So I think that transition game is going to be really key for Washington Spirit, especially because without Richie Burke at the helm, they are playing more direct. They are pressing a little bit higher. So there are nuances to how this team is now lining up against their opposition. And it's something that Laura Harvey is going to absolutely have to be wary of. But hey, they've got Bethany Balser, Golden Boot leader, 8 goals, and keeping her streak going is going to be key.
She has just been absolutely incredible as of late. But let's not forget, a win for the Spirit would put them just 1 point behind the Reign coming into the home stretch. So 4 matches to look forward to, all with so many storylines, so much on the line. Aly, thanks so much for your insight. We appreciate you. Thank you so much for breaking it all down for us. And here's a look at the table heading into this weekend. The Thorns, with a 3-point cushion at the top, they'll host the Courage, who have the chance to close that gap with a win. Then the Reign, they've been quietly climbing their way up the table lately. They're in 3rd place, equal on points with North Carolina. Then only 3 points between the 4th place Pride and 8th place Dash. And at the bottom of the pack, racing Louisville and Kansas City, who will no doubt be looking to finish the season strong. Another defining weekend awaits, and a reminder, Paramount Plus is your home for the NWSL.